Georgia D. Come talk with me. Today we're going to be talking about a few different studies that were done about American kids and versus China kids in China, and how kids in America, the job that they want the most is to be an influencer, whereas just a few short years ago, roughly around before COVID started, they still wanted to be astronauts and doctors, whereas kids in China, currently, the number one job is astronaut and doctor. I found this very interesting, a little alarming, but let's talk about it. Hello. I am so excited about today. We have family in town. We're going to be hanging out. Some part of the family went shooting at a range, so that sounded like fun. I didn't get to go. I had to do some cleaning around the house, but they sounded like they had fun. And Everest is napping at the moment, so that's amazing. And hopefully he naps for an hour or two, maybe two. Two would be awesome. And then I think we're going to get food and or go bowling, maybe some coffee. And then we're having dinner and games at home. So, it's going to be a super fun day. I'm really excited. It's a beautiful sunny day out. I wish I could see it. I actually was about to start this podcast sitting outside, but it is kind of windy. And but it's so nice and sunny. I felt like I would get really sweaty though after a while, but the wind was kind of the biggest turn off, so I said no to the outside podcast, unfortunately. Sorry for you, because you would love to enjoy this day. I don't even know, it's like 60 degrees, 64 degrees, and sunny, and just a really beautiful day. So I wanted to ask this question. There was a study done that something Caleb said the other day kind of sparked this question. And the question, it was like a study done. So it was this question: will kids being born today want to be influencers like YouTubers or Instagrammers or doctors? So, okay, this is not the right question. I mean, it is like in China's study. So, okay. So what happened was Caleb was talking about how in China all the kids are talking about being doctors or astronauts or what kids always used to be, want to be as a dream to be that. But now kids in America are wanting to be the highest rate of what kids want to do and be these days in America is an influencer, like a YouTuber or something like this. Whereas it used to be a doctor or, a dentist or something, but now it's an influencer. So I wanted to talk about this. What is this going to look like in the future? Okay, so let me start with this article by NPR. I just thought this was so interesting. Okay. So there's a Chinese kids book, and they just talked about, in this article by NPR, they started talking about, the different kinds of books that kids are indoctrinated with, whether it's from China or from the U.S., and I mean, just this topic alone, before I even, I want to get into this article, but, will kids being born today want to be influencers or doctors? And it's, in China, apparently, they're still wanting to do the age-old dreams and the age-old jobs that we've all wanted to do. Being a doctor was, the coolest thing, the best thing in the world, highest job, astronaut, doctor, dentist, lawyer, these kinds of jobs. But now, there are kids in China that want to be influencers, but still the numbers rank apparently higher, and I'll get into that more. But in America, the highest, the job that people most want as kids, or their dream job, is an influencer. Which, well, let's get into this. So the article starts out with talking about one of the children's books in China that they read. So, The Cat That Eats Letters. So this book is about a cat that has an appetite for sloppy letters, written too large or too small. I feel like this is because in China, before I get into it more, they are very particular, they're very precise, they're very, they want everything perfect. It's honor. I don't know. Anyways, so written too small or too large, or if the letter is missing a stroke, explains one of the researchers, psychologist Cecilia Changong, a professor at University of California, Riverside. Oh, I have family there. So the only way children can stop their letters from being eaten is to write really carefully and practice every day. Interesting. But the underlying point is clear. This is really instilling the idea of effort that children have to learn to consistently practice in order to achieve a certain level, says Chung. And that idea, she says, is a core tenet of the Chinese culture. So interesting. So, traits Chinese books have is generally viewing intelligence as a trait that can be acquired through hard work rather than a quality that you're born with. I really love that, that in the Chinese culture that you can learn, you can grow. They really hone in on this. I think this is something that is taught in the United States too, that you can learn to, have this kind of success, and it's not just born with it. Sometimes you are born with it, but you still have to cultivate it, you still have to grow it. But it's really interesting to see that this is so big in Chinese culture. Another book they talk about is The Foolish Man Who Removed the Mountain, which recounts a folktale about a man who is literally trying to remove a mountain that is blocking the path from his village to the city. Every day he has to dig some dirt from the mountain. The book celebrates perseverance, of course, but also another value is steering clear of bad influences. Oh, that's so good. Avoiding a negative person and staying on track and not being distracted by things that would derail you from achieving your goals. In this case, the man keeps on digging even as he has to endure criticism from his fellow villagers who call him silly, and in the end, he actually removes the mountain. That is so awesome. I love that kind of a story. I mean, honestly, yeah, this is a story portrayed in Chinese culture, but honestly, this kind of thing is portrayed in American culture. One of my favorite books I ever grew up with was The Little Engine That Could. That's all about perseverance and all about knowing that you can do it and trying again. That's what that whole book is about, and that's a classic American tale. So, I don't know if this these children's books actually supports this. We'll find out. But let's continue. By contrast, the article says a typical book from the U.S. one called Jar of Happiness. A little girl attempts to make a potion of happiness in a jar, only to lose the jar. She's really upset until all her friends come to cheer her up. At the end of the story, she comes to the realization that happiness does not actually come from a jar of potion, but from having good friends. They're saying that the emphasis is on happiness, comes up a lot in the books from the U.S. In some cases, it's overt, central to the plot of the story, but often it's more subtle. So, I mean, I can see where they're coming from with like a lot of American books being all about being happy and that's it. But honestly, I don't think, I don't know if that's really, I think they're kind of portraying that, or excuse me, like twisting that in a way. They're kind of twisting it in a way because I have read books where it's about being happy and about whatever, but like the books that we read to my son, which we're reading books every single day, there's usually like something, like, I mean, I guess I'm trying to think, it's all about like learning, really, like simple things like brown bear, good night moon. Like he's learning his animal noises. He's, you know, learning his colors. He is, you know, looking at the pictures. It's not these kind of stories, you know, we have this Old MacDonald book that's a pop book that you can pop it, like a polka dot book, you know, those books that have the poppers in them, which I highly recommend if you have kids. They're called polka dot books. I like want them all. He already broke one, but I'm pretty much gonna order them all, so highly recommend. And so I'm thinking, like, we read the Christmas story, how Jesus was born, although I wanted to save that for Christmas, but he pulled it down from the cupboard in his room where I keep Christmas books for Christmas only. I'm trying to think of the other books. We read lots of animal books. He has this growl book, and it's all about animals and they're hiding under flaps and stuff, different, like, so I mean, we mostly read books about animals and books about helping one another and finding your way. I guess that's, I don't know. Anyways, okay, let's continue the article. So, okay, so they're saying that there's an emphasis on happiness that comes up a lot in the books from the U.S. In some cases, oh wait, I already said that. Okay, so they just have a lot of drawings of children who are playing happily in all sorts of settings, emphasizing that smiling is important, that laughing is important, that being surrounded by people who are happy is important. The same held true in the books from Mexico, which I find this super interesting. I find this extremely interesting. Okay, wait, I have to stop. I am talking into the microphone right now, but honestly, it's not plugged in. Oh my gosh. This is just coming from the actual phone. I am so embarrassed. I have to stop this right now. Okay, so I'm using the actual microphone now, and I've been holding the microphone up to my mouth this whole last 9 minutes of the recording that I've done. I am so sorry. So if the audio was just ridiculous, that's why, because I had the microphone but I did not plug it in. So embarrassing, so ridiculous. What in the world? Okay, anyways, so because I saw that it was recording, but I didn't. Okay, anyways, this is ridiculous. Okay, so yeah, I can see what they're saying, that, you know, a lot of emphasis on books being happy in the US. I can see that. I mean, I just think maybe they're taking what is like a stereotype of America and what American people are like and painting that picture. I could definitely see that. I feel like that's kind of a thing of what they're trying to do in this article. I could see that same thing for Mexico. Just them wanting to just be happy. And maybe this was an article geared towards China or something. I don't know. But maybe it's just gearing everything towards China, like for China. I don't know. But I feel like if this is true, I don't really know that this is completely true, although I would say that Americans are it's super important for Americans to be happy, but honestly, like it's like in the culture, like we want to be happy, whatever that looks like. But honestly, I think that's honestly just a human thing. I'm just going to be real. People want to be happy in whatever way that looks. And if, yeah, okay, they, in the Chinese culture, that's not as important as, success and honor. But I'd say it's really important in American culture too, is success and honor. I mean, not honor, but like success and being happy. And maybe honor is in there, but we just don't call it honor. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's status. I don't know, but it feels a little fishy, this article. That's all I have to say. I asked the question, what are the implications? Let's say this is true, and Americans really just want to be happy, and the Chinese culture is all about, what did they say? They said, achieving their goals, not being distracted by things that would derail you, not having bad influences, persevering, staying the course. Honestly, I can see this in American culture. Americans are all about that, with the Olympics and with national championships and the Super Bowl and, like sports and people achieving, some of the highest athletic things you can achieve, in the United States. I mean, I think it's part of an American culture too, all these things. It is interesting though that we're seeing, or whatever, in this article, that in children's books it's coming up that it's all about being happy. And maybe that's just a new thing. Maybe, Brown Bear and Goodnight Moon, and I don't know, I'm not thinking like the Cat in the Hat. I guess that's not really a great example, but these are books that we grew up with, our generation, maybe 80s, 90s babies kind of grew up with. I don't know that our parents really grew up with these kind of books, but I certainly did in a way. I mean, that wasn't my book that I read, but it was Caleb's books. Those were Caleb's books that he really liked. And my cousin that is my age really grew up with Goodnight Moon. So yeah, I mean, I grew up with The Little Engine That Could, and that was a staple in our home because it was teaching about perseverance. It was teaching about, I think I can, and saying it out loud and believing what you're saying and speaking it over yourself. And when you say something out loud, it becomes alive and it's real. The word says that our words are alive, and they go on and on and on forever. And when you say something, you can't take it back. So you can say you take it back, but it's out there. And yeah, you can have a change of heart and these kinds of things, but our words are alive. And so, yeah. Anywho, so what are the implications was a question that I wanted to just chat about a little bit. With this Chinese culture of people being indoctrinated with, all this perseverance, and you can achieve, anything you want, and excuse me, it's the middle of the day, it's like morning still, afternoon, early, like noon, and I'm yawning. It's only because I'm making a podcast, and I don't know what that says. It kind of bothers me a little bit that I yawn during podcasts. Maybe it's because I just, I'm talking so consistently for, an hour long that it just makes me yawn because my mouth is, open, even in, mid-speak. It's, open for more than it ever is at any other time of the day. I don't know. So what are the implications? I mean, as a general statement or like a quick, whatever, if our kids are only learning about, which they're not only learning, but according to this article, if our kids are only learning about, the best thing is about being happy, and their kids are learning about perseverance and, not getting into bad influences, not having bad influences, not having things distract you, trying and continue to try no matter what anyone says, and these kinds of things, obviously. I'm so sorry. Obviously, they're going to have a different perspective in life, to a degree. I don't know how long it will stay in their mind, but it's a core belief. It becomes something that you first learned about when you were very, very young, and those things leave an impact. If you're learning about perseverance at 2 and 3 years old and 4 and 5 and 6, and it's a memory and it's a nostalgic thing, I mean, you're going to look back on it when you're an adult. And if it's just about being happy, I mean, maybe that will trigger something when you're turning, 25 and you're leaving after college, and then you look back again at it, when you're moving into your first house because you haven't looked through that stuff all through college, and now you're looking at it again, and then you look at it when you move from house to house, and now your kids are starting to look at it at 30 years old, and then now, at 50 or 60, they're empty nesters, and you're going through the books, and you're either giving them away or keeping them, or keeping it for your kids to have, for their kids, So you're looking at it in all these different times in your life, and you're remembering, and maybe you think, do I have that or do I not have that? Or, have I done that? Have I achieved that? Have I persevered or have I not? Have I achieved this level of happiness or have I not? I don't know. Maybe it's just a nostalgic thing, but then it triggers something like that. I don't know. But it's really interesting. I mean, yeah, it could leave a mark. Yeah, it could make our kids the only thing that they ever want in life is to be happy, no matter what that looks like. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be happy. There's also nothing wrong, with perseverance. But, and these things that the Chinese culture is apparently teaching that apparently we are not. But, I mean, I know that American people are teaching about these things, and I wonder if there's some books in the Chinese culture that's about happiness. I mean, I've seen a lot of like Chinese like K-pop or like music or TV, that's kind of like pointless. A lot of pointless stuff. So, I mean, an American has tons of pointless stuff. Okay, so this article talks about, I'm going to continue for a little bit. The article talks about that children in China consistently score higher in academic tests compared to children in the U.S. and Mexico. But she says more research is needed to determine how much of that is due to the storybooks or even the larger difference in cultural values that books reflect. Other completely unrelated factors such as different teaching techniques could be at work. Well, duh. And I really don't think that it's according to the books, but this article seems to think so, maybe. And it's just randomly like throwing something out there, because they even say they don't know. This article starts to talk about how they can learn from one another. Americans can learn. After all, if you think intelligence is gained through effort, then when you're confronted with a challenge or even an outright failure, you just put more effort into it. You try to learn from your experiences and you think about different ways of approaching this problem rather than saying, no, I'm just not smart, I'm just going to give up right away. I really don't think that's an American thing. I think Americans are all about perseverance. I think, from the very beginning of how this country was founded, I think, we've come away from that because of the schools and the choices that some of our public schools have made, not thinking that the pride of this country and how this country was founded is wrong because of our founding fathers, and so we have, come away from that. But regardless of that, the truth is that our country is founded on perseverance. Our truth is founded on not giving up, about fighting hard, and not giving up, not getting around people that are going to say we can't do that, but we can do this. We are Americans, you know. So I think this is a little dig at Americans, honestly. Okay, so continue. Conversely, Chinese parents might want to learn from American focus on encouraging children's happiness and sense of connection to others. This is something that's really important to instill in children. And happiness is also important when it comes to learning. It can be a predictor of future achievement. You know, I'll give them that. They did come around in that way. In this article, excuse all my yawning. I have no idea. But yeah, so it's cool that they kind of blended this together, American and Chinese, you know, supposed culture and the way that they're raising children. I definitely think that we can learn from each other. I think, in a way, I mean, there's lots of Chinese culture, you know, being more disciplined. If having a more perseverance type culture, I think in American culture, it has been in the past about perseverance. I think today we have come away from it. I will say that. I think people give up too easy in America, whereas people might not be able to give up in a different country. It's survival for them. Whereas in America, things can be kind of cushy, you know. Things can be kind of relaxed. We have it easy. We have it good, you know. So, this is something random. Another article I read about kids in China and Russia are being taught how to assemble AK-47s. I don't know why I wanted to add this, but I just thought it was so interesting that the government feels like it's really important to teach kids in schools as a class how to assemble an AK-47. I'm for guns. I love that kind of thing. Guns just for defense. I don't think there's any other reason unless for defense of our country, to keep our country safe with the military. And then we should have it on ourselves, so we don't become victims of whatever, because someone just decides to be crazy that day. You know, I think that's important. I think if you live out in the country like we do, it's important to defend yourself from wild animals, which we have everywhere. So I think, yeah, that's really important. So, but I just don't think it's necessary to teach a child, you know, in school how to assemble an AK-47. You know, that's neither here nor there. Chinese students are not allowed to use calculators. Chinese education focuses... This is so random. I'm so sorry, but I thought this was interesting when I put this together. So Chinese students are not allowed to use calculators. You know, growing up, I was not allowed to use a calculator. That was considered cheating. And I was born in the late 80s, the last two 80s. And so I was raised in the 90s. In the early 90s, I was going in school where I was not allowed to use a calculator. I had to do all the math by hand and show. Even if I was just adding something or subtracting or multiplying, I had to show all of my math. Whereas now, you know, kids do use calculators. Maybe not the fancy ones that will do the problems for you that they're looking for, but the compound calculators. But kids are using calculators now. Maybe they do use the compound calculators in college. I know I had to get one in college. So Chinese education focuses on strictness and precision, which improves retention. American education focuses on improving students' assuredness, self-determination, and independence, which aids in comprehensive thinking. You know, both of these things are good. Strictness and precision, which improves retention. Yeah, that can get a little overbearing, though. Kind of communist. Dun-dun-dun. And American education focusing on students' assuredness, self-determination, and independence. Of course, American independence is always a thing. Everybody wants to be independent and have their own, you know, ability to be themselves. Comprehensive thinking and active thinking is super important. Problem solving, super important. But, the strictness is kind of a little, CNBC, there was another article from CNBC. Kids now dream of being professional YouTubers rather than astronauts. Study finds 3 times more likely. Although this is just a study from CNBC, but Lego, so the company Legos, surveyed 3,000 kids between ages of 8 and 12, and over 300 parents with kids ages 5 to 12. Almost a third of the kids in the survey said they wanted to be a YouTuber when they grow up, while 11% said they wanted to be an astronaut. I find this super intriguing, super interesting. Honestly, I would have never thought that so many kids would want to be a YouTuber. I found that I really wanted that to be a job for me. That would be amazing as if I was a stay-at-home mom and YouTuber. Super awesome. I feel like I haven't given up on that little dream, if that could be my main income, but who knows? It might not be, it might be. But it's funny how kids today, that's what they want to do. That's what they strive as seeing, you made it, you've had success. And only 11% say that success or what they want to do in life is be an astronaut. Whereas, it was probably the opposite, 10 years ago. And who knows how valid this is. But I guess Lego surveyed 3,000 kids. More than half of those in China say they want to be an astronaut, making it the most popular career aspiration. In the US and the UK, that number fell to just over 10%, with vlogger, video blogger, or YouTube ranked as the top aspiration in both countries, so UK and the US. So very interesting. It's basically flipped, from UK and US to China. We have opposites. Okay, so there's a list here. So children's top career aspirations in the US and the UK. Number 1 is vlogger, YouTuber. Second is teacher. Third is professional athlete, which is kind of in that same realm. The 4th is musician, also same round. It's all entertainment. And the 5th is astronaut. Okay, I find this funny, and all these articles are just kind of funny because, okay. Children's top career aspirations in China. Astronaut, number 1. 2 is teacher. It's number 2 in the US as well as China, the same. Number 3 is musician. Honestly, a musician being number 3 in China, it's not far from YouTuber, vlogger. Most musicians are YouTubers anyways. Okay, so number 4 in China is professional athlete. While it's number 3 in the US. Honestly, it's not that far off. They're the same thing. And then the 5th top aspiration in China is YouTuber. Honestly, I think it's just a cultural thing today that kids want to be vloggers. It's number 5 in China, which still isn't far from number 1. So these articles kind of make me laugh a little bit because the article should be kids today. Not just kids in China or kids in the US, but kids today want to be vloggers. Kids today want to be in the entertainment industry. That's just how it is because look at where we've come today. Look at where we've come in today's society. That's just what people want to do. That's just what kids want to do. Teacher is still number 2. Hey, teacher is still number 2. Okay? Then it's all entertainment. It's just what our kids are inundated with. Today it's what we're inundated with. And we see how fun it must be, how cool it must be, That's just the long and the short. In 2017, a survey by Fatherly of 1,000 U.S. children under the age of 12 found that most children wanted to be a doctor when they grew up, followed by a vet, an engineer next, police officer, and a teacher. Oh, that's so interesting. In 2017, that's like literally, right before COVID. COVID started in 2019. So, beginning of 2020, end of 2019. Pretty sure my sister was one of the first people in the whole world to get COVID because she had it in 2019 at Christmas and turning over to 2020. But just, only a few years ago, kids still really wanted to be a vet, a doctor, an engineer, a police officer, a teacher. And then since 2020, TikTok, YouTube, and all these things have been bonkers. It's kind of switched over to entertainment, It's kind of alarming. I think I just started asking myself some of these questions. Why is this happening? Is that what China wanted by making TikTok? I don't know. I want to say maybe. I don't really have any facts. This is just my opinion, which isn't a fact. It's not anything I've read. Maybe it is things I've heard, based on things I've heard. Maybe that is what China wanted, But the thing is, it affects their country as well. And look, YouTube vlogger is number 5 in their country. So, I don't know. Yeah, in China they can't see like gay or transgender things because they frown upon that. That's not good in their country, But so they filter some stuff. But the thing is, TikTok is still in China, and of course it's in China. It's literal spyware. So, like, they're going to want to spy on their people, as well. So, maybe it is something China had in mind, knowing our culture, knowing we'd fall into it, knowing we'd be distracted. Maybe not, Maybe they were simply just trying to distract us with TikTok. Maybe it is what they wanted, I don't know. So, I think I'm going to end it here for today. But I think I'm going to make a part 2 of this. I have a lot more to cover. I could make this all in one podcast, but honestly, I think I'm done podcasting for today. And I think I will begin this and start with you with part 2. I'll do a part 1 and a part 2 of this. I find that this is a very interesting topic. You know what? No, I'm going to continue. I'm not going to stop here. I thought, maybe I'm going to stop here, but I think I'm going to continue this. I want to finish this entire podcast. Yeah, I think I am. Okay, so the next question is, was this already happening before TikTok? Maybe. I really don't think so, honestly. I think it kind of happened with TikTok. I think it's so easy to go viral in TikTok. I think that's kind of what sent a humongous trend with kids wanting to influencers these days. I think TikTok really made an impact in that way. I know YouTube was already doing something like that and Instagram was making an impact in this way, but honestly, I think TikTok took the cake. TikTok made it the animal and the desirable situation that kids really go after, Why do most people want to be so-called influencers? I think, having the lifestyle to be able to create whatever it is that you want and then to be able to share it and to not have to go into a job. And maybe, kids don't really understand this because they've never worked a job and they're just wanting it because it looks cool, because of the fame, because of whatever it is. So, I'm gonna just move on to the next one. It's sad. I think I'm kind of gonna ask this as a question. Is it sad and scary that people these days, or kids, want to be influencers over a doctor? You know, maybe it's sad, yeah. You know, I think, being a doctor, being a dentist and a lawyer, all these jobs we used to think, or kids used to think were the best, astronaut, are all noble jobs and things that we need. It is, I will say, it is sad that most kids don't want to do those things. Yeah, I will say it's sad. It is scary. It is, whatever. But the best we can do is teach them, not force them in a direction by any means, but help guide them, and yeah, some of our kids will be influencers. Great. Whatever. And some won't be, and they will have whatever job. But I don't think I'm really necessarily scared about that happening at all. I think, yeah, it's like interesting and a little weird, unnerving that so many kids today just want to do that. It's just a little alarming that so many, like the majority of kids want to do that. Which on the other hand, like, I don't blame them in a way. Like, that's what we're seeing. That's what they're seeing all day, every day, and they think it's just the best, I thought this was funny. I wrote, as if the influencer is the highest, best, like the best job. I wrote some pros and some cons. So, like, a pro to having a profession like a doctor. And maybe these are also why people do each job. So I think a lot of people choose to be doctors because of the status. I mean, honestly, people want the status of being accomplished and being successful and achieving something great, and a doctor will do that. When you say you're a doctor, immediately there's a status and an impression and respect that comes along with just saying you're a doctor, that you spent the time. Whether you're a good doctor or not is besides the point. Whether you actually care about your patients or not is besides the point. It's, oh, you're a doctor. Oh, you are spending a lot of money. You have a lot of money. You took a lot of time. You made the time. You're smart enough. All these things kind of cross your mind. And then, which brings me to my next point, is money. I think a lot of people will end up to be a doctor because of money. You're going to make a lot of money. Yeah, you're not going to have a lot of time, but you'll have a lot of money. You'll also be in a lot of debt, but, you'll make it back, hopefully, in your lifetime. Having a calling, something, a purpose, a reason to help people, to help them get better, to have relationships, building a rapport with people and watching them grow up, watching them go through life, depending on if you're an OB or you're a pediatrician or just a family practice doctor, whatever, but you're going through life with these people, and it's a calling, a fulfillment, so to speak. I'd say this kind of goes along with status, but a big job, I think it is sort of status. It's like a big old sign and commanding respect, and it's just a big responsibility and a big job, and makes you feel important, and that's a good reason why people would do it. A good reason, I don't know, but it's a reason why people do it, to give them value, to give them self-value. A con. Let's go through the cons. I wasn't sleepy at all when I started this, but of course, a con. Less time in your life for the things that you want to do. You're spending a lot of time at work. You might work a lot of overtime. You might, you're spending a lot of time in school. You're spending lots of money to go to school. You're in lots of debt. You are not getting to really do the things you actually want to do in life. Or maybe that is all you want to do, and that's fine. But I think it also can take away from the things that you really want to do, which is being with your family and enjoying that and enjoying them. It doesn't really give you a very good family life at all. I mean, you're there early, you're there late, you're sometimes on call, you are, very involved in your job, and that really takes a toll on not just your heart or your spirit, but everyone in your life, really. It takes away it lowers your quality of life if you're always working. Definitely. Lots of schooling, kind of already mentioned this in a way. Yeah, you have to spend 8 years going to school. Maybe that's not a con for people, but I'd say it's a pretty big con for me. Just spending that much time and money going to, just have to work the rest of your life really hard and a lot of hours. So, spending thousands of dollars to get there. I kind of already said that, going into debt. If not $500,000. If not like $500,000. Yeah. You get your job only halfway through your life. I thought that was so funny. Like, you usually, if you see a young doctor, you're like, you're a little skeptical about wanting to go to them. I don't know why that is. If it's just like we just expect doctors to be older. But if you see a old doctor, you don't think anything of it. But if you see a very young doctor, you're like, oh, do they have the experience that they need to actually do a good job with us? You wonder, But yeah, you're spending a lot of time, and you might not get to have your job until way later in life, That really stinks. So, there's a high demand and a high stress on your life and your job. Yeah, I think doctors maybe age faster because of all the stress and all the high demand and the chances they could get sued, or having their own practice or their own business, or that could really put a stress on somebody and make it really difficult, Okay, let's move on to the influencer. We're going to do pros. You get a lot of free time. Yeah, you could be really busy, and it depends on your level of where you're at with this influencer thing. You might not get any free time if you're like Charli D'Amelio or something. Yeah, probably not. But like if you're a middle influencer, you might have more free time. You might have free time to do what you want when you want. You might be busy as well, but you might have more like leisure, like the decision, you can choose your schedule type of thing. Like I said, work when you want. You just could probably choose your schedule and get to do. Excuse me, I'm obviously yawning. I don't know why. I must be tired. But you get to choose, instead of not getting to choose. Like with maybe a different kind of job, like a lawyer or a doctor or a dentist or something, those other jobs that we so call the best. Lots of money. An influencer usually makes quite a bit of money. And, self-explanatory, enough said. Fame is one. I don't know if that's really a pro or a con. It might give you opportunities, things you might not never get to do before. I kind of categorize fame as maybe a con as well. They're kind of in both categories, I suppose. But yeah, and it can lead to other things, kind of like that's what a spin-off of fame. It might give you opportunities or situations where you would never have been able to do this or meet this person had you not been in a situation or famous position or of so many people knowing you. If you weren't in that position, you would have never had that opportunity. So, and also letting other people in on your experiences, friends or family or close people that are close to you, that don't just want to take advantage of who you've become, Con, privacy. I think often influencers sometimes have a difficult time with privacy and people following them or people trying to reach out to them or people trying to get into business when they shouldn't be, I think there's a lot of that with influencers. I am so sorry. I do not know why this is happening. I need to drink some kombucha. But pressure. The pressure to perform, the pressure to make content, the pressure to be this perfect person, people want to see. I think the pressure is what I've seen in influencers a lot, because there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of needing to be perfect, not make a mistake, not mess up, and that can really take a toll on a person. To keep up with a grueling schedule, I think a lot of people already have to keep up with a grueling schedule. But maybe it is a little different with like an influencer. And it might depend on what they're doing and their level of influence. I wrote this question: is it crazy how kids in America desire to be an influencer over a doctor? Yeah, I think it is crazy. I kind of already answered this. It is a little different, but on the other hand, is it really that crazy? If anyone had an opportunity to be an influencer, have influence on things that matter, yeah, I think a lot of people would take advantage of that. And now it's easier than ever to become that person and to make a difference, to really see a change in the world. I think, and not every influencer does this, but it could happen. So, is it because parents are into shorts and making videos? I don't know if that's why. Maybe the parents getting involved because now millennials are parents. Because they're getting involved, kids are like automatically getting involved. Maybe something like that. How can we help kids in our country want to do jobs that will and can help society? This is a great question. I think maybe if you're playing doctor, you're playing, like, not no, obviously, but, like, just if you're playing doctor, like, you're gonna fix or bandage or, they're just seeing you do things, they'll get excited about doing it. The only reason that kids are excited about being an influencer is because they see other people doing it, or they see you making videos, or, their friends. So, alright, well, I feel like when I look back at this whole question, what, like, United States kids wanting to be influencers at their top job, and kids in China still wanting to be doctors and astronauts, I'm not sure what to think. I don't even know if this is completely accurate. I do find they might be on to something. There's probably some hint of truth, at least, in this. And so I think that it has some level of truth. I had an interruption, but we're good. I think there is some level of truth in this, I think, but I think it might be skewed in a way that makes China look better for some reason. Because I don't know that the what they're basing this on is completely accurate in a way. I think it's kind of angled, I guess you could say. I think, there are a lot of kids in America, which is interesting to find that they do want to be influencers, but I don't blame them either, because it's what our society is all about, and everyone is involved in that, and so it's kind of where we're headed. We do need, obviously, like, doctors and lawyers and all these things, so we can encourage our kids to aspire to do something, that will help society and go towards society. But, I mean, influencers also help society. It's entertainment. I mean, without entertainment, without music, without movies, without any of that, where would we be? Who knows? I don't know, but it wouldn't be good. We need entertainment too, We don't need all of our kids, and honestly, some kids might just do it for a pastime, but then they go off and you become an optometrist or whatever, or a urologist. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might just be something fun, and it's just a dream, but they grow out of it, type of thing. Or maybe it's just a way to make money on the side, But and the thing is, kids in China want the same thing. Maybe they have more of a pressure. Maybe parents in America are a little bit more relaxed, and they're not forcing their kids to do something. Whereas kids in China, they're forcing their kids to do things. I only have some of these articles that I'm basing this on. I don't know. I just felt like this was a fun conversation. I don't really feel like most of this stuff is really facts. Some of it is probably good information, but I don't know where it really stands. But it's interesting. I thought it was an interesting concept, an interesting topic for us to talk about. So here it is. Please subscribe, please leave a comment and share this, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to this week's podcast. Please subscribe, leave a review, and we'll see you next week.